All right, everybody, welcome back. We are halfway through day 2 at the Crescent City Cup 2023 from New Orleans, Louisiana, headed over to the CSW division. And who better, of course, to join me for commentary for that block than my friend Evans Clinchy, co-president of the Collins Coalition. Evans, thank you so much for joining us. Should be a great block of 4 games. How are you feeling heading into commentary?
Feeling great. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. And yeah, like you said, looking forward to 4 really high quality Collins games. It's going to be great.
Yeah, a great matchup for any veterans of this Twitch channel. There will be 2 personages that are very familiar to you all. One of them, I think, is in the chat right now, WTF Jew. Not to dox him too much, but he is one of our 2 players, Erickson Smith, going up against the number 1 ranked player in the standings right now, Conrad Bassett-Bouchard. So a little bit of a battle of the trolls, Evans. These are 2 people that are well-versed in sort of the internet and, I don't know, just being an effective troll in general. It's a great matchup.
Yeah, I was going to say it's one of my favorite internet trolls against one of my favorite real-life trolls in Conrad. So it's just a really great kind of mirror matchup in that regard. Going to be a lot of fun. Hoping to see Conrad arrange some goofy phonies on his rack, just general hijinks. It'll be great.
I fully expect that. Yeah, it would be shocking to not see a few of those rearranged racks with non-words, but something funny for us to enjoy. So here's hoping that happens. I think the players are likely to be set and ready to play on our queue. So we can head on over to the board and start up with round 13. Coming right up. Again, it's going to be Collins for the rest of the way today. Evans will join me as long as he's able. Evans, of course, this is a very high priority for you to be here and commentate on the stream, but perhaps there are other priorities that might take precedence, which I think we would all understand. Is that correct?
We'll see. I'm going to try to power through as much of today as I can. But yeah, kind of taking care of an 8-week-old baby at home, and it's a little bit, demanding on terms of my time and my energy. But we'll see what I can do.
Huge. I mean, that's obviously just amazing.
Oh, look at that. Conrad's got a message for me. That's really nice.
I didn't see what he said. I didn't catch it quickly.
I can't repeat it, so we're just going to have to let it sit.
Oh, okay. Yes, I think I know. This is, immediate confirmation that this is a true troll battle here, as if there were any doubt. So
there was never.
I'm seeing in the chat what Conrad said, and I agree that it's technically not something we should or could repeat, but that's okay. So Eric going first in this game. He's doing great. He's in 3rd place, 8-4. His spread isn't that good. Conrad currently leading the field at 9-3 with pretty good spread. So Eric drawing a lot of vowels. Oh, but there's a little something to take the edge off. Okay. Looks like you got 5 vowels and a blank. Think that's probably 1 too many vowels to actually get a bingo down. So seems like from the way he set the tiles aside, I would expect an exchange here, Evans.
Yeah, it looks like he set aside 3 of them there, AOO. Interesting decision between changing 3 and changing 4 here. A lot of players might opt for the more balanced leave of 1 vowel, 1 consonant. But it looks like he's going to trade 3, keeping AIN blank.
Yeah, which is funny. Had he somehow managed to find a way to play that O, Conrad would have aphorized here, I think.
Oh, wow.
But of course, that is not in the cards, and that's going to be just fine, as Conrad's got a Z, and I'm sure he'll have some nice stuff to play with it here. I wonder what he's going to do. Knowing Conrad, I think there's a chance most people would probably consider Zaire here for him, but I wonder if he's going to play Fizz, just because, as we know, Conrad, very defensive. Evans, you must have logged a lot of games with Conrad in the last, I don't know, however many years to get an even better sense of his style than most.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're probably correct to think that Conrad is going to consider Fizz here for sure. I think definitely there's the chance that, you're comparing a play like Fizz to a play like Zaire or Hazier, and you're going to have a better chance of keeping the board closed with a tighter play like Fizz. And you see Conrad there, definitely in the think tank right now with his head in his hands, mulling this one over. And I'm sure he's thinking about these various considerations right now, the closeness of Fizz versus the more open plays that are available.
Both players look just like they're in agony here with that, look at the posture, right? I would love to see some straighter vertebrae, better lumbar support being offered here. But, Scrabble will do that to you sometimes, as both players are just hunched head in hand, trying to figure out what to do next. So I think Conrad, I feel like I'm going to see Fizz, but I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe he'll go with Zaire. And ultimately, he does go with the extra points. Fizz, 36 points. Zaire, 48. It is a lot more points. So hard to turn down, even for a defensive-minded player like Conrad. So Erickson's going to bingo, almost certainly. I can't imagine that he won't. I'm just looking around. Oh, he does have one of these classic super vowel heavy bingos through the A of Zaire. I must be borrowed from Greek or Latin or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, it's pointed out there in the chat. Enkainia. How would anyone say that word? Not sure, but it's a very useful one in Scrabble. 5 vowels in an 8-letter word tends to be a word that's very helpful to know, just because it's just a big gap between missing a bingo with 5 vowels and playing something else is a very big gap compared to other bingos that are more balanced. So I do expect Eric to see this. But if not, he's got other options here. Ukane underneath Zaire with a lot of overlaps.
And a big fat triple opening up, though.
That's true. Yeah, you wouldn't ideally. I mean, there's no question that the double through the A that you're seeing in the chat, the annual tribute to the founders of Oxford.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. So
you were just talking about how there's a giant gap usually between the best play when it's a 5 vowel 8 and the best play otherwise. And this is a perfect example of just that, because there's a huge gap, I would say, between Enkainia and the second best play here.
It looks like he's got he's assembled the letters in just the right order.
Yep.
Has spotted his bingo, and don't think it's going to be much longer before this coming down. And here it comes, nicely spotted by Eric Smith here. 86 points for him. Doubt it really matters much where that blank goes, so he just plops it down. There's 2 N's in the word, but that's just really impressive, right? Like in a certain, sense, at this level, there is some degree of expectation that a play like that be found, which is actually amazing given like how obscure and difficult of a word that is to anagram. So pretty great play there.
It's easy for us to say this is the best play because we've got computers and we've got Quackle open, but it's a lot harder over the board. You got to look for a lot of stuff there. There might be a bingo through the Z. Turns out there's not one, but he can't know that. There might be like overlapping stuff underneath Zaire. There's a whole lot of things you got to look for. And Erickson actually pretty quickly deduces correctly that Enkainia is the best play.
Absolutely. We've seen it a number of times so far where the blank tends to really slow players down just because of the sheer volume of options that you have to consider. So the fact that he was able to get through that turn with, still 22-ish minutes on his clock, that's definitely a win. Future moves shouldn't take quite as long without that blank to contend with. So Conrad's not got a very good rack here. It's just going to be difficult to solve all of the problems that this rack has. The 2 Ps, the consonant overload in general, finding a play that isn't, completely crazy. Pav, P-A-V off of the A of Enkainia is just like, it doesn't feel good to do. So I guess you could play Pav 1 spot up, and that gets a little bit better. Of course, just Pi and instead. Yeah, that seems okay. Maybe he'll play App alongside. These plays are very uninspiring.
Yeah, not a lot of great options here. I kind of like just Pav 1 square up, so it's not opening the giant hook for Pave. So that'd be Pav at D11, but it's not great.
Yeah.
One interesting thing you might consider is that the synergy between the P and the other P is like not that terrible. So you could make a play like VAG or something that keeps both Ps, but it's not great.
Yeah, duplicating the P isn't quite as bad. I actually hadn't generated that as an idea, and I kind of like it now that you mention it, just because the V really just is the fly in the ointment with this rack.
Yeah.
No surprise, AutoMod is not wanting you guys to figure out what this word means, but we're gonna let you figure it out. Yeah, I guess. Oh, look at that. He's gone way off to a different direction and played happed. A valid word, just for the record, but that's an interesting choice. I think he probably just really prefers not to make that simple E hook, but I think I probably would have sucked it up and played Pav here all the same. So that's definitely. I'm sure Conrad has a pretty clear rationale for why he's doing that. Maybe long-term board considerations that he likes the idea of taking away the Zaire's hook and not giving any new hooks, I guess, except for chapped or something. So, oh my God, Erickson. Let's just say, folks, he does not bank at Bank of America. There's another reason for this arrangement of the tiles, and he knows he's on Twitch right now, so he even puts it on the board. Wow. Look at him looking up at Conrad. Look at that sly look.
Conrad's stone face here.
Down. I wonder how realistic Conrad thought that play was from Erickson Smith here. So obviously Muffin with Tentacles says arrest that man. That was pretty egregious there, but hey, we're having fun with it, so that's the point. Good play, by the way, Fob. That definitely makes plenty of sense. And now stamina can go down with that big S hook that he just set up. So definitely momentum swinging in Erickson Smith's favor here in the early going. David Eldar has called the game for Erickson, so maybe we should let the players know and we can move on to the next round.
Sounds great. I could use a break.
Rob, my co-commentator this afternoon is none other than Evans Clinchy. Evans is going to join us as long as he can with the newborn baby lurking in the wings, potentially needing some TLC from dad. Hard to argue with that too when your other option is to sit here and watch Erickson Smith play Bofa in a Collins game. It's a good play, actually. Fob, it's not that complicated. Playing a simple three-letter word, making that S really strong. But for Conrad, what now? Maybe veggie alongside happed. Looks like it scores pretty well. You could play veggie off of the E of Encaenia, opening up more. I don't think Conrad's going to do that. But not a great rack for Conrad here with the V, U, and G all together.
Yeah, not seeing much better than veggie. And it's an interesting open versus closed decision here between the two different spots for veggie, right? Because if you play it in the top left, you're kind of opening up the triple up there, which maybe you want to do since you're down by 50 now. But then the veggie to the right of happed is a little bit tighter, a little bit better defensively. So interesting. It's pointed out in the chat that one of the extensions for happed is mishapped, which Erickson actually has.
Wow. Yeah, that's
probably
true.
Not going to see that come down given that he's got an actual bingo, but mishapped is like 57 or something, so not bad.
That's a good point. I had not considered that at all. I wonder if he's thought about that. Obviously, he does not need to with that nice bingo lurking for him. What's Conrad getting ready to play here? Just gov somewhere? It seems, I don't know what, I can't even work out what the arrangement of tiles on his rack is sort of getting set to play. I think, okay. So he is going to play veggie there in the slightly more aggressive positioning. I guess that's a little surprising, but there's logic that you just articulated behind it, Evans.
Yeah, I mean, he's not only down by 50, but also his opponent just made a kind of fishy play. So he could be down by not one bingo, but two pretty soon. And it turns out that is exactly what he's going to be.
Yeah, Stamina is going to score a lot. The question of does he see the bingo? I'm pretty sure he is going to see it at that base of the board there, and it's going to be 90 points.
Yeah, that's going to put Eric up by over 100.
There it is. So as predicted, he does spot it. And this is an important draw for Conrad to see if he's going to be able to keep pace here. I have to say, I feel, as somebody that's kind of putting together some streams and commentating and stuff like that, I feel like Conrad just gets very unlucky when his turn comes up to be on the stream. It seems like something always befalls him that's incredibly unlucky, whether it's his opponent doing stuff like this or some crazy outcome. Evans, I'm not sure if you saw, there was a really wild game between Conrad and Austin Shin on the block of Collins games yesterday.
I missed it.
It was just wild. Both players playing phonies in the early going, and Conrad just coming out on the worst of it. It was a really, really interesting, strange game. And I just kind of felt bad afterwards for poor Conrad. But let's see, I got to give Eric his points here on the scoreboard because he has way more than 112 now. But what does Conrad do to close the gap a little bit here?
He's got a decent scoring option of Doted for 37 right on top of Stamina, tripling both of those Ds. Sorry, tripling both of these Ds.
Nice. Yes. We might as well lean into it with these two guys playing.
Yeah, no, you got to.
Yeah. So that seems as good as anything. That's a lot of points actually to get for plays, rather tiles that none of which are greater than 2 points. So yeah, let's see. And meanwhile, Erickson doesn't have a great set of tiles there. So maybe that's what Conrad needs to get back into this.
Eric's got Kuta Vat arranged on his rack. Okay.
Yeah. Where is he hoping to play that? I guess he's hoping to play that in the spot where Conrad's going to play Doted if he sees it, right? So right on top of Stamina. Seems like a pretty nice spot to play. I don't think it's likely to stay. So either Conrad's going to play Doted if he sees it. Maybe he'll play Tubed through the B of Fobs. That could be another option. Slightly fewer points for a little bit better leave. Not much better, though.
So these are all pretty similar options. Like D-Bud through the B is 35 points. That's also kind of a middling score and leave option. They're all pretty similar.
Yep. So he's actually uncharacteristic to Conrad. He's run his clock down pretty far. I think of him as playing with pretty quick pace. Although I said that yesterday too, with Ben Schoenbrunn as my co-commentator, and he said something like, "Oh, that's interesting. I think of Conrad as being a very deliberate player." Oh no, we were talking about Dave Wiegand. Sorry, it was Dave Wiegand who I had said I thought of him as being very fast.
I would say that you were right in that case then. I don't think of David as being slow at all.
Yeah. Okay, we like this play. Doted, that scores very, very well, given the low point tiles that Conrad has. He's counting it up, and that will take Erickson's best spot away from him as well. So it has a couple. That is the case usually, right? Like the classic Scrabble experience of saying, "Oh man, my spot got taken." Right? How could you take my spot? Typically, there's a reason that you wanted that spot, right? Like it's not.
Right.
These things are not unique necessarily to one player. So hopefully, Eric takes that in stride, figures out a new place to play. I'm sure he will.
I've kind of trained myself to just expect every time I have a star play that it's going to get blocked. And that way, when it's not blocked, I have like the pleasant surprise of like, oh, goody, I get to play this. I didn't expect that.
That's
Just
a
kind of a way of
very,
like reframing your expectations, you know?
I mean, I would say I have that worldview in life in general, for sure.
Yeah, me too.
So there is that. But yeah, and certainly the less energy, mental energy that you can use in Scrabble spent on stuff like that, and the more that you can spend on actual salient considerations to the game at hand, the better off you'll be. And I like this play for him, Vatu, just getting that V and U, the two least synergistic letters on his rack, off at once and blocking a little bit while he's at it. Seems good to me.
Yeah, very strong.
So Conrad's rack, he left UT after dotted, and he drew a very strange pick of EEOUX. Certainly not what he's hoping for to try to get a bingo and get back in this game, but I don't know exactly how he's going to do much with his X here either, apart from, I don't know, maybe Tux parallel to Veggie, but that, of course, leaving 4 vowels, which is unappealing in its own right. Is there any way to set up the X? I would be thinking about that in this situation for sure. If there was some place that I could play just a couple vowels. I'm imagining, idiotically something like OE off of the D of Hapt, setting up a massive X spot, but that can't be worth it. Doesn't score enough. This seems all right to me, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, really the only two options Quackle likes at all are Tux and Exunt, and I don't think Conrad is quite ready to go desperate with Exunt, opening up that triple with the E, so...
Oh, wow. Through the N of Enkania, is that we're saying that?
Yeah.
Okay, Sidewinder pointing that out too. Hello, nice to see you all in the chat. But yeah, that's a little risky putting the E out in space. The E actually would have been a godsend to Erickson to put out there with so many consonants on his rack. I think, amusingly enough, we might have seen like Wanker or something, which would have given us all some giggles here on the stream, I'm sure. But instead, Conrad playing it a little safer.
Let's point out in the chat that Conrad should have just played UX.
Great point. Very relevant to his career path, as we know. Conrad, a UX designer at Google. So, yeah, that's certainly. Eric still has a nice big lead, but if Conrad is if he continues to be patient. He has a nice spot for his J, and alongside Fobbs next turn, he can continue to sort of chip away, and maybe we'll see if he can come up with the second blank, some other natural bingo. He still has chances here, but Eric is certainly in the driver's seat still.
Yeah, it feels like Conrad's just getting walloped, but he's only down by 56. Like he's totally in this thing if he can just get one good draw.
For sure. So. Good, classic, really useful Hebrew letter of, well, I guess you wouldn't pronounce it Wa, but that's how it looks on the board. Scores decently well. Again, I think Eric's playing very crisply to start the game, so seems good to me. And back over to Conrad, where he's got a J to contend with. I think it feels pretty clear to me that he should pop the J down next to Fobbs here, but maybe there's some other idea that he's thinking of.
Yeah, it's the highest scoring play by far. It's 40 points. Nothing else is even close. I'm also just going to say that with this rack, the phonies, they just find themselves. It's too easy.
Good point. I had not even considered that. But yeah. It's being noted that actually Eric has a 7-letter bingo on his rack of Crytron. I don't think that actually, it doesn't seem like that actually fits anywhere that I'm seeing, but man, that would be pretty cool to see that go down. So Conrad does end up just popping that J down for 40. And again, the score is, as Evans just said, pretty close for a game that feels like Conrad hasn't really been in it.
Yeah, really, other than those two bingos, Eric hasn't had racks that have been that great this game either. He's kind of been slogging through some weird ones. playing off the W's, and you're not really scoring that much either. I mean, his last 2 plays have been 22 and 25, so not exactly pulling away here.
Is he really? It looked like he had York set up. I wonder if he's really thinking about playing that on top of Doted, making a massive. Okay, now he's considering Rorty in that spot, which looks a little safer. Let's see. Shuffling the tiles a bit.
Yeah, this is definitely a shuffle the tiles kind of rack. A lot of different options you got to consider. Might want to look at Wonky from the W in the top right.
Oh, that's another good one. Yep.
Might want to look at just KY in the bottom left corner. It's 36.
Also a good idea. Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of stuff going on here. Is he? Wow, York. I mean, you definitely do very well with scoring and leaving a good bingo leave after York. But, man, it feels a little scary to play that here. You just give this massive S-hook, and, of course, Conrad is going to use it.
I might play that if I'm down by 40, not if I'm up by 40. I don't know.
Yeah. That's a classic type of play that I just imagine our computer engine wanting to play that, but just human beings are not going to have that risk tolerance of that. Part of that is that the computer engine often, unless you tell it to, assumes a random rack for your opponent, whereas your opponent actually rarely has a random rack. They're usually keeping better tiles than you would expect.
And in this case, your opponent's last 2 plays have been Tux and Joe, so it's pretty fishy looking. Like, you want to put him on a blank or an S more often than not in that situation, I feel like.
Yeah. So some suggestion of just playing Kai, like you said, Evans, in the lower corner with Cobb, but Eric is going to choose Rorty here, which I think certainly has merit as well. I don't really have a major problem with this choice.
Yeah, I like it. So we hold on to that K for a while. He's going to score some points with it someday.
Yeah, it does still fit there in that lower corner. If he draws a vowel, he can just plop it down for a solid score there. But, his ambitions will probably be slightly higher than that. Also, it's worth noting that Conrad might take it with his H now. So definitely, the game is a little bit more than halfway over.
Yeah.
Ish. Eric just drew the second blank, so that's definitely not good news for Conrad at all. But still chances as Eric is sort of working through, maybe that K just sits on his rack for the remainder of the game. Who knows? I'm just, I guess, a little surprised to see Conrad with the time ticking already into the, sub 10 barrier.
Yeah, getting down to it. Fun word puzzle here. If you are Erickson here and you got those 6 letters, there's only 2 possible 8s with those 6 letters and 2 blanks. They are very tough. Anybody want to find them in the chat? Go ahead.
Oh, man. Now you got me thinking about it. Let's see. I'm sure somebody is. Oh, okay. Wheel is the play.
Yeah, Kakimono, very nice muffin. Good job. That's probably the harder one. And Mooncake, huh? Yeah, very nice. Deldar got it. Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
That's funny because I was about to jokingly offer the suggestion of if you were a Bond villain, you might moon rake.
Nice.
But that's I actually did not see either of those very quickly, so I got to hit the books. So all right, play of wheel for Conrad. That seems reasonable. I don't know. There haven't been very many exciting options for either player really on the last few turns, but yeah, we'll see. So neither of those 2 aforementioned bingos that Evans just said should be available here for Eric, but what is he going to do?
Maybe he'll finally cash in that K that he's been holding for 4 turns now.
I expect him to play the K here, yes. I think whether it's by playing just KO in that lower corner, maybe he'll play Oak on top of Rorty. There's definitely, I would be stunned if the K didn't find its way onto the board here, especially with that blank in hand. You don't want to keep the K any longer than necessary. And what's Conrad going to have here? What is that other letter? Ah, okay. There we go. So this is a pretty big swing here. It feels like Conrad is likely to bingo on his next turn. And when that happens, it's kind of important that Eric draws something bad out of the bag. Because otherwise, it seems pretty clear that Eric will just bingo back and retake the lead otherwise.
Yeah, he's currently up by 45. If he plays the K for 30 or so, he'll be up by 75. That's even after Conrad's bingo, it's going to be a pretty favorable game for Erickson, I think, given that he's got the second blank.
Well, another suggestion of maybe just Nook under wheel. That could be reasonable. Of course, putting the K out into the triple lane shouldn't typically be that dangerous. Oddly, Nook there would be pretty frustrating for Conrad, as I think he somewhat needs that spot to bingo here. Where is he going to bingo if wheels is taken away?
Wow, he's not going to. Yeah, that blocks all the bingos.
So that would be so there's just it looks like Oak is the play that Eric is getting ready to slap down here.
Yeah, right now okay. Yep.
No, go ahead. I'm so
I was going to say right now the only play that Eric has to bingo with it, or Conrad does, sorry, is Nestful and Wheels. That's the only bingo right now on the board available. So if Nestful is blocked and no other bingos opened up, it's going to be trouble for Conrad.
That would be a troll move by Eric to open a triple lane and somehow block off the only spot that Conrad can bingo. We were talking about that this is a trollish matchup between two players that like to have a little fun at the Scrabble board. And all right, here we see play coming down. Actually, does Fluence now fit on top of there for an even nicer score, huh?
Yes, it does. Fluence for 89. So that is the opposite of Nook. Rather than block all the bingos, you're opening all the bingos.
Yeah.
And he's going to be sorry he did that.
You've made a nice spot, and somehow Fluence doesn't really offer that much in the way of counterplay at all for Eric. So unless he draws really smooth, he did, I think. Unless Eric draws something really good, which it looks like he can now play Violones or something off of the V of Veggie. Now, that was a pretty big swing, though even then, if Conrad draws something good, he still has some chances after they trade bingos here, which I think is quite certain that they will do. Maybe Conrad's thinking about the validity of Fluence.
He probably knows that one. Oh, he's looking at unfelts. And that one's not good.
Yeah, unfelt is a word.
Unfelted.
Okay, he is going to make the correct choice here of Fluence. This is definitely a word and the best play. Nicely spotted by Conrad. He will go up briefly after the exchange of plays. 319 to 304, but of course that's short-lived. I wonder if Eric hasn't seen Violones. That would be a pretty big swing to not spot that bingo up there.
Yeah, Violones is 80 points, and something like Isotone making wheels on the right side would be 78. But of course, Isotone also opens up all kinds of counterplays for your opponent.
Yeah, placing, if you can imagine it, placing that E right next to a triple word score is kind of scary.
Yeah.
It looks like all the plays in that spot do have that attribute too. So it really feels like Violones is by far the best choice positionally here for Eric. So the question is he going to find it, or will he have to settle for something else? Conrad isn't in a great position to punish it anyway, though.
You could play something like Brind or Inbred, which would be a decent score, but probably not enough to win because Eric's going to be up by 65 or something.
True.
60, 63.
So I'm looking at David Whitley's comment. Hello, David. Nice to see you, by the way. Does Violoni, does it rhyme with baloney? Is that how I should be saying that?
That can't be it. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Where am I losing the syllable? Oh, there we go. Nice spot here. Erickson spotting, definitely the best play. Conrad is sort of shaking his head as if to say, man, I just fought so hard to retake the lead, and now you snatch it from me again? Come on. But that's how Scrabble goes sometimes. I got to say, both players have played pretty crisply most of the game. Can't really fault too many moves that have been made here.
Yeah, there's been a really nicely played game on both sides, for sure.
Violones. Okay. There was a raging debate about my pronunciation of the word ersatz earlier. Apparently, I'm supposed to be saying ersatz or something like that. I don't know where other people stand on that debate, but I seem to have botched it. Oh well.
My stance is that's a really nitpicky thing to care about, and like you're close enough. Like what's the big
deal? Thank you very much. I feel I appreciate that support actually.
Like the two things you just said are like almost the same. What are we even talking about here? Whatever.
Thank you, Evans. That means a lot to me. I feel a little better about myself now. But Conrad in a tough spot. He's drawing the cue, and he just pops his B down in the corner. That's kind of nice, I guess. Maybe Conrad has this multi-turn idea of I'll play this, then I'll dump my Q down in the corner for 33, and then bingo. Maybe that's what he wants. Tricky. Interesting thought from David Eldar there in the chat. Rebid through the second E of wheel, I assume, setting up a really nice Q spot for yourself on the double word score. That's intriguing. Oh, cool. Definitely intriguing. I mean, the letters you would leave over after that play are literally QIN, so that seems like it sets you up pretty well. But still Eric in command here. What do we think he's going to do now? Surely nothing that will open anything at all for Conrad.
Yeah, you can't play anything like Moll, MOLL underneath wheel. Like that's the strong equity play, but in this situation, there's no way you're doing that.
Yeah, it seems, totally agreeing that in this particular position, Eric basically just needs to keep things as closed as he can. Even a bingo for Conrad hooking wheel is very likely to give back pretty significant counterplay along column O. So I think if Eric just manages to maintain a 60 to 70 point lead here, he should be just fine. So yeah, maybe he'll play, who knows, Selam, something like that through the E of wheel. That doesn't open very much.
Yeah, so. Cleom into the E influence is 22 and opens up nothing. Looks pretty solid.
That looks nice. Yep, that looks nice too. I guess it's worth noting a little bit that Eric should be aware of the Q. You want to make sure, if possible, that you leave yourself an ability to manage it if you draw it. I don't think he can really do that here. It seems like the Q is going to be annoying no matter what he plays. I guess there is that big cheese spot in the corner, though.
Yeah, it's a guaranteed 33, so it's not too disastrous for you.
Yeah, and that's pretty much never getting blocked either. So actually,
yeah, exactly.
The Q, let me take back what I said there. The Q is pretty much a non-issue. Either you get it and score 33 or you don't, and your opponent scores 33, which is kind of a win because it's not a bingo.
It would be funny because there's 3 I's in the bag. You could draw Q, I, and have to play the Q keeping all 3 I's.
Scrabble does have a way of engineering those types of cruel scenarios at times. So that would be, the part of me, part of us that wants chaos would enjoy seeing that for sure.
Definitely. So Erickson has arranged on his rack exactly the play I said you cannot make, which is Moll. He's staring at it, and I think he knows he can't do that, but he's just looking at it frustratedly.
He might be sort of an appreciator of chaos enough. I mean, I'll tell you that when I'm doing my streams on the official Twitch channel here that we're all watching on, he is the first person to demand that I open the triple lane at any time, right? He definitely wants me to do these crazy plays. 64-bit Scrabble in the chat says, doesn't Maul at least block the S hook? That's true. It does.
Okay, that's true.
So it has that benefit of either you're bingoing through the L, or maybe you're sometimes blocking plays with wheel. So, yeah, I think that makes sense. Maybe it actually is a risk worth taking just to make sure that you are blocking a little bit more. So Conrad immediately plops the Q down, as we expected. He's actually pretty close on the scoreboard now, after all said and done there.
Yeah, so he's only down by 34, and we've got, I think, 4 tiles in the bag. So this game's not over.
Curious to see Eric's draw here. Oh boy, IS the first 2 tiles. Cruzy on the rack. Does that not? I don't think that's likely to. Oh, that's amazing. Sleuzier. That's pretty crazy. So Eric, maybe this is just kind of like karma. A lot of you guys in the chat are saying that you thought Maul was clearly correct. This type of thing happens sometimes, right? Like, I guess at this score, a triple through the L is certainly devastating, but you know, typically it won't be a triple. If there's a bingo there, it'll just be a regular bingo, and those are probably less likely than bingos hooking wheels or wheelie or something like that. So, yeah, much more likely that he'll have a wheels bingo than something through the L. So I'm coming around to it. Of course, I feel, Evans, like my gut was to not open a triple, but maybe that's the way to go here.
Yeah, there's a lot of bingos through that L. I'm not so sure. It's pointed out in the chat that wheels bingos win for Conrad. Like any bingo that hooks the S onto wheel and scores, 82 or something is going to have to win for Conrad. So as long as you're reducing the percent chance that Conrad bingos, it's worth doing, I guess is the logic. So maybe Maul is okay, but I don't know. It seems really counterintuitive to me.
Yeah, it does break that kind of cardinal rule of, when in doubt, try not to open a triple lane. But in this particular scenario, it seems like there's a pretty coherent rationale for it. So will he see Sleuzier? I didn't see it immediately. It looks like he is probably going to, but maybe not. I'm trying to, he's now seen the 7-letter word that's on his rack, but that's not going to help him here.
Yeah. Seems like if he was going to see it, he would have seen it already, but maybe I'm wrong.
Good question from Rizone there. Are there templates for the sheets that the players have? Yes, there are. There is kind of a custom template. Often players will build their own score sheet that just has the attributes that they're looking for whatever reason. But definitely at these tournaments, you can go and pick up, a fistful of those score sheets to use during play. There is kind of a basic template that, just has places to put the scores for both players and places to cross off the tiles that are played.
I'll put in a plug for cocoscrabble.org/tournament materials. I can't type in the chat right now because I'm not logged into Twitch. But
sorry. Hold on. Let me. Coco Scrabble. There's not a dash in there, is there? No. I'm just gonna do it myself. Tournament.
Appreciate that.
Materials.
I think it's tournament-materials.
Yeah. I got it here. Okay, so here it comes. I think I have the ability to. Yeah, there we go. So this has some good materials, of course, and you see the Collins Coalition logo there. This division is sort of being organized as a Collins Coalition tournament, kind of a partnership between WGPO and Collins Coalition, where WGPO handles the NWL division. It's a little bit muddled, all the acronyms, but Coco handles the Collins, and yeah, it seems like it's a good model. Hope to see more of it for sure.
For sure, yeah. Well, good question in the chat whether it's compulsory for players to record the game. That's a yes. Every player's got to record every move. In fact, I think you're technically not allowed to play your move until you've written down the score of the previous move. So everyone's got to write down every score.
So we haven't seen any inkling that Eric is going to find Sluice here.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think he really needs to in order to sort of secure this game. Pretty much any play through that L. I'm not actually imagining what that might be though. Okay, just ulcers. So that works. I mean, that takes up a ton of space. It blocks the P and D of hapt pretty effectively. If you're not going to see Sluice here, you're probably winning most of the time with this play. So let's see. That did empty the bag. So Eric's going to have a weird endgame rack for sure here, but he's going to be up by a lot of points to navigate it.
Yeah, that does a great job of blocking all the bingos. I was looking at, are there any bingos even possible from its perspective? And it turns out the only two possible bingos after ulcers are reloading or reloaning as 9s through the LO. Those are the only things that, from Eric's perspective, Conrad could have. And in real life, he doesn't have those, so Eric's fine.
Yeah, good point. It's certainly like just looking at Conrad's letters from Eric's perspective, he had to worry about things like pyridine from the P of hapt.
Yeah, so ulcers blocks that too. Yeah.
So if you just if you just play something in the top right corner, you're not going to reach far enough down to hit that P. So this is actually a pretty savvy play from Eric. Of course, he's going to want to play Sluice here if he sees it, but this is going to win. Ultimately, you just want to win the games as best you can. So I like that idea from him. So for Conrad, this is just a matter of accepting your fate and coming up with as good of an endgame sequence as you can here. Not sure exactly what that is. I'm going to try to look a little bit before I spoil it for myself.
He probably wants to just leave and go have a meal. He's feeling dinnery.
Oh, good point by Noah in the chat that because Eric had 2 eyes on his rack, there was no pyridine possibility for Conrad. So maybe something else. Could have been something else. But wow, NFL updates. So yesterday, for those that are unaware, Eric Goldstein cursed the Seattle Seahawks by attempting to play the word Geno in a game. And at that time, when Eric did that, the Seahawks were even with the 49ers. So, of course, as soon as that occurred, San Francisco went on a tear and began crushing Seattle. So I'm told that there is NFL football going on right now. But, of course, most of the country is talking about the matchup here between Conrad Bassett-Bouchard and Erickson Smith.
Absolutely. What's football? Never heard of it. Sun setting on the Bills. Sun setting indeed.
Yep. So let's see. What should Conrad do here? I wonder what he is considering. I guess there is a decent place that he can play through TE. TE at the top, he could play just Teddy there. Conrad could. I don't know if that gives him a good second play.
Yeah, not a lot of great spots for Inner or Renan.
All right, I'm going to ruin it for myself now. It looks like the best endgame sequence appears to be intend through the TE on the top left of the board for Conrad. That would leave him with RYE. Oh, man, it looks like he's about to play it. Look, he's got INND lined up. I think he's getting ready to play intend in that upper left corner. The I in the triple lane would give Eric nothing significant, and then that lets him play RYE with Skier in the lower right corner. Very, very nice sequence there. Doesn't seem like that's going to stay. Eric will probably play down there himself if he thinks to do so, but Conrad will still have an outplay of YER underneath Maul with Heem and Lore. So really nice sequence. Looks like he spotted it. Evans, I think of Conrad as being a pretty good endgame player, just in my experience, but I definitely defer to you on knowledge of Conrad's game being from much closer geographic proximity.
Oh yeah, I've had a lot of great endgames with Conrad over the years. I had one game with him in Niagara Falls where he, I was gonna bingo out to seal the win, and there was one tile in the bag, and he wrote out all 8 possible racks I could have in the endgame, and he solved all 8 endgames on paper in like 8 minutes, and then like determined that one play was like 5 out of 7 to win, and one play was 6 out of 7, and he made the right play, and it was just like incredibly brilliantly done, comprehensive endgame work for all 8 possible outcomes. And yeah, I mean, he's a computer with these things. He just calculates every possibility.
That's so impressive. I mean, I can't underscore enough how infrequently in my Scrabble career have I been able to do that sort of thing, whether because I just don't have the patience or I don't have the time on my clock, right?
Exactly.
Like there's definitely a major time component to iterating out all the possibilities like that. And
we were talking earlier about Conrad, whether he's a faster or slower player. And my answer to that would be he's generally pretty fast, but he also knows when's the right moment to slow down and take the time. Often he plays really fast early in the game so that he can save his time for the tougher situations later on, which I think is the right way to go generally.
Yeah, that's
such a... He's been pretty slow throughout. I mean, he's got only 1 minute left, but...
True. But that is such a skill. It's a really good point of just knowing when to slow down. Oh, look at that. He plays your first. I guess that gives Eric a chance to maybe block if he sees that spot for intend, which I don't know. I mean, what's Conrad going to do if he just plays something to block up there? Does he have even a second out? I'm not sure.
My question would be, how does he play? I guess he can play like Gar or something.
Yeah, he can definitely play something in that top, but Eric is just going to plop Rig down, which that will let Conrad play Intend, which I admit that is not the easiest play to spot unless you're really locked in. Oh, I see. Conrad's going to challenge this. So maybe part of it is that he wasn't sure about the R hook on Sky here. So if that's true, that might have been why he opted to play YER first. But yeah.
He would have won the game if he challenged correctly, so it's worth trying for 5 points.
For sure. So an additional 5 points for Erickson. Let me give him his 5 points here. And then Intend for Conrad for a very nice score, 31 points, but it's not enough. The final score of the game will be 456 for Erickson Smith to 433 for Conrad Bassett-Bouchard. Pretty crisply played game, Evans, I have to say. Nice win for Eric as he continues his climb up the leaderboard.
Yeah, both players are going to be 9-4 after this one, and we're waiting on an outcome of Evan Borovsky's game. We'll see if he improves to 10-3 or whether he's 9-4 as well. But in either event, a really tight top of the standings right now. Looks like Evan is still in progress in his game, so we'll have to catch up on that one later. But yeah, really tight top of the standings with Evan and Eric and Conrad and Dave Wiegand also lurking. So whole lot of interesting action still to come this afternoon, I'm sure.
Yeah, that was a surprise, just having seen Dave Wiegand a bunch of times at the outset of day one, just absolutely blasting all of his opponents and, en route to a 4-0 record. But of course, Scrabble being Scrabble, Dave has lost a bunch of games since that time. He's actually gone 3-5 since that time. And he's back sort of in the midst of the pack. But I have every expectation that, it would surprise nobody as we see him wandering into Conrad's vicinity there, surveying the game. I don't think this is the last we'll be seeing of him. Let's see, what does he say here? Hoping for... I'm not sure. Let me see. I'm going to try to get... Hoping for... What did he say there? Can't read that last word that Conrad's communicating to us.
Yeah, I can't see it either.
Maybe one of you, any chatters? Oh, okay. He was hoping for Eric to phony as an outplay with Agries or something like that. Okay, sure, that makes sense. I thought he had another eye. So even that wouldn't have been an outplay, right? I thought, but either way, could be reasonable. Try to get Eric to play a phony and then win the game. That makes sense. Always good to have a plan. So, all right. Well, not sure if there's any other debriefing to be done about this game. Any final thoughts, Evans, before we take a little break before round 14?
No, I'm good. Just a really nice game. Looking forward to the next one.
All right, everybody. So with that concludes round 13 at the Crescent City Cup from the CSW division. So we'll take a quick break once again. And in just a few minutes, we'll be back with what I strongly suspect there's no way around it. All the matchups at the top of this division are going to be a lot of fun. So stick around and we'll be right back with round 14 from the Crescent City Cup.